How's it going, folks, and welcome back. It's episode number 77 of Park 2 Primera. Today, we have a new job. We're Spain manager. If you missed yesterday's transfer special and you didn't get to the end of it, this might come as a little bit of a shock. I'll be honest, I've still not quite processed it, but today we're going to get our feet under the desk of the Spain managerial position. We're going to have a look through the players, the squad, see what went wrong in the European Championships, and we'll set the scene, I suppose, of what is going to be a new side gig going forward. Don't worry, this is not going to replace the racing portion of the series, really, but I feel like with a World Cup in 2 years, it'd be fun to have a little bit of international management in this save game. It's something that we did last year with Park to Prem, where of course we became England manager and showed maybe a little bit of bias towards our own players. Make no mistake, there are a few Spanish players in the Racing squad. I'm looking at Pedro Porro, Perez, and did anyone say Jorge Calderon? Yeah, maybe him as well. Some players who I might be a teeny tiny bit biased towards and give them some regular first team football as Spain manager. Now, of course, if we just look at how Spain got on, and I'm going to have to reacquaint myself, I suppose, with the international management layout of things, because it is slightly different here. The expectation was for the team to reach the final. England won the whole thing because they're overpowered in Football Manager, but did Spain win the whole thing? Well, no. They finished rock bottom. They scored 2, conceded 5, and finished bottom of a group with Austria, Ireland, and Poland. And they were the hosts. Yeah, that's a pretty bad campaign, isn't it? So clearly there's something not quite right here at Spain, and it's going to be down to us to figure it out. Now, in terms of the team, I feel like we're going to look at the key players and how we can integrate them into a system. But of course, with my own biases to try and squeeze into the team, the squad that we have here, which is the squad I've inherited, may not be the squad that we end up having come the first international break where we're going to be in charge. If we just have a quick look at the national team here, you can see there's a couple of Racing players in here. Luzzi and Porro are popping up. In terms of the big international players, well, I've got Xhaka now to have a play with. A man who I've seen, obviously, in our Football Manager save. He's very, very good playing for Barcelona. He's always top of the assists. And I kind of look at him now and think, it's quite nice, really. I get to have a go with him. How would I use him? I mean, I tell you what, he's pretty good, isn't he? I was sat thinking, Calderon, we'll put him out on the left wing, it'll be fine. That's going to be a little bit of a challenge to justify. Out on the other wing, we've also got Ansu Fati, who is right-footed. Naturally, when it comes to creating a system here, I think they're the two men we kind of have to build around. I feel like it would be mad not to pick around them, to be completely honest. So if we just have a quick look here, Xhaka out on the left-hand side, Fati out on the right-hand side. The next best player is allegedly this guy, Iriarte, Jose Ramon. We'll go with Jose Ramon, or maybe JRI. That sounds like some kind of insurance company, doesn't it? He's an interesting player. I don't necessarily know if he's as good as the star rating suggests, but at 20 years old, I mean, he's technically gifted. He's an okay centre mid. I mean, he's very good, isn't he? I'm playing him down here a little bit because I'm trying to justify a way of getting Calderon into the team. Elsewhere, we've also got Mariba, who, I mean, if you play Football Manager, you're familiar with this guy. He has, of course, signed for Leipzig in real life. He's a bloody good centre midfielder as well. He kind of reminds me a little bit, dare I say, of Hannibal. Is that an unfair comparison? Am I bigging up Hannibal too much? Now, you know what? They are quite similar. I'm sticking by it. They are quite similar. Mariba's perhaps a little more well-rounded. And, well, if we believe star ratings, at least, in terms of best defender, we've got Eric Garcia here, who is obviously very good. He actually plays for Liverpool in this save game of all teams. He signed for them for 81 million. He's put in some pretty good performances. So he's perhaps another man we need to look to build around. Now, of course, this squad will change. Would you look at that? Mysteriously out of nowhere, Jorge Calderon and Edgar Perez have miraculously appeared in the national team setup. Who would have thought? I mean, I no idea what happened there. They've just appeared here. So Perez, left back. Calderon, I'm thinking he can play down the middle. Pedro Porro, I want to play him at right wing back. The issue I've got there is that the next best kind of player in our squad is Alex Ortiz, who is a right back. Although, maybe he could play the defensive midfielder position and then I can keep playing Pedro Porro, right? See, I'm wondering, do I want to play the same system that I play at Racing? Would that be boring? Is that the way to approach things, though? You know, I've built up my tactical style. They've offered me the job based on my tactics at Racing. I'm kind of looking at the team now thinking, yeah, actually, this squad could fix and kind of fit into this system quite well. I have just realised I've not got a particularly good goalkeeper, which is a little bit odd, at least when it comes to star ratings. Alvaro Fernandez plays for Arsenal of all teams. Of course, Arsenal's starting goalkeeper is Spanish. They've also got Unai Simon as well, who, I mean, who of them is better? Who of them is better? We've got a judgment call to make here. I think I prefer Simon. Who incidentally is maybe on the verge of a move to PSG of all teams. I mean, PSG signing players, that doesn't sound like them, does it? Right, in terms of positions we've not picked, we need a striker and we need a centre-back. I'm looking through this team. I'm looking at the strikers. It kind of looks like there's a bit of a gap here. I guess Pedri maybe could play as a striker. I don't necessarily agree with that. Ferran Torres, of course, is maybe an option as well. Of course, he plays up top in real life. There's then Dario Serra, or alternatively, and you know, I don't want to be accused of being biased. I was kind of surprised that Fabian Luzzi was getting games for the international team, you know, last year when we were in the league, because he's good, but you wouldn't associate him with being starting striker for Spanish levels of good. Now that I've actually seen what they've got in terms of strikers, you know what? Luzzi, come on down, slotting up top as an advance forward, and there's a centre-back spot still. There's a centre-back. Do we have another centre-back? Of course, right now I'm just really looking at the players that have been left here. We will have a bit of a re-evaluation of things. But generally speaking, in Football Manager, I do find that the AI kind of managers do a pretty good job of selecting players. It looks like it's between Mateo and Pau Torres for the final spot. You know what? I think Torres is better. So I do actually have a team now. I don't know if it's a good team, but it is a team. And as if by magic, suddenly my formation at Racing has miraculously loaded into the game, and here it is. And I quite like the look of this team. I kind of hate the fact that the players that we have fit the system so well. Of course, there are a couple of players here who debatably could end up starting for us, kind of making the call, I suppose, to start Bolde behind Edgar Perez. I could be accused of bias. I mean, if we compare the two of them, it's probably a correct accusation, to be fair. But I don't think there's anything wrong in Football Manager with national team management. We're showing a little bit of bias to your own players. And when I look at this squad now, having 4 Racing players in the starting 11 just seems quite neat. So in terms of national vision and stuff, I can't actually see what's going on at the moment. I have no idea what they have planned for me. I think they said that the Nations League isn't very important. We are in League A. We are in the top tier. We're alongside Italy, Ukraine, and Wales. That's going to be a little bit interesting, battling it out for top spot against Italy, because I do believe we are considered kind of national rivals of sorts. If we look at the schedule here, our first game in charge is going to be against Ukraine. It's going to be at home. It's actually in September, so we've got a little bit of a gap between now and then. I was going to check if we could schedule friendlies, but of course we can't just schedule friendlies when we want as a national team manager. But looking at things, I feel like this is a good little Spain squad. I feel like this is going to be a fun little side gig alongside Racing. I think when it comes to stuff like World Cup qualifiers, it's not going to be something where we're commentating every single game by any means, but there'll be the odd kind of recap here and there of what's been going on. Of course, the World Cup is going to be kicking off in 2 years' time. The scheduling for that doesn't happen till September. I'm now wondering when the World Cup qualifiers are actually going to begin, because I don't think they're in my calendar anywhere. Maybe I can ask my assistant to get them scheduled in. There will be some World Cup qualifiers coming up at some point. Of course, we are going to be in the kind of changed World Cup qualifying setup where way more teams qualify. I'm not a massive fan of it in real life. I don't really like the groups being teams of 3, but look, I can complain about that all I want. It's not. I don't think FIFA are going to listen to me and change it back. So we've got to embrace it and try and enjoy it. I mean, based on what happened here, you can see the team were playing a 4-2-3-1. Against Austria, they failed to score, and then 2-2-1 defeats is kind of mad. Looking at how the games actually played out, were the nation unlucky? I mean, to be fair, they did get FM'd a little bit in the first game here. You can see the team that they lined up with. They actually played... Well, they ended up playing a 3 at the back here from the looks of it, Spain. Although to start with, it definitely was a 4-2-3-1. I'm now wondering, did they just get FM'd in every single game? That is now what I'm wondering. I mean, we can see the stats here. So against Poland, I mean, they were maybe a little unlucky to lose again. Who performed well? No one. I was hoping there was going to be a standout performer here, someone I could look at and go, maybe you're the secret to success. Maybe if I get you performing, we're going to do okay. It does look like against Ireland, Mariba had a quite good game. Having now seen the match stats for all 3 games, I'm kind of amazed that they managed to lose every single one. Like, that's a pretty impressive achievement, really. So if we have a little look here at the nation overview as well, you can see here the world rankings, 15th for Spain. That is really, really low. Only just above Austria. This feels like maybe the Spanish national team's been struggling for a while. In terms of World Cup, they got knocked out in the second round. In the UEFA Nations League, it looks like they didn't make it into the knockout games of that. I mean, how did they do in the previous kind of European Championship is now what I'm wondering. They actually lost in the final of that one on penalties. I mean, what I'm realising here is really since the 2024 final 4 years ago in the Euros, the national team has struggled quite badly. I'm now wondering who their managers have been. So yeah, you can see in that time, got through managers pretty quickly. Valverde left in 2026. Pacheta came in for 2 years and was sacked. And now we've inherited the throne. We've inherited a team, though, that feels like it's way better than 14th in the world. This is a team that I think should be winning a World Cup with me managing them. I realise I'm setting the bar pretty high here. Of course, I am going to need to have a bit of a scouring of the national pool, see what kind of strikers are available, see what kind of players are up and coming who I need to be aware of. If we just look at the reports here, is there anyone who's really good who's not being included in the national team setup? That's what I'm wondering right now. I mean, Gonzalo Villar apparently is quite good. Although apparently he is in the national team. I've just completely overlooked him, which is a little bit awkward. I mean, this is a team with depth. It looks like we've got so many midfielders. I'm now wondering if I should just go strikerless, because we've got Dani Olmo as well. We've got Dani Olmo, we've got Villar, Pedri. There's some serious talent in the midfield of this team. And if we actually look at the age of the team, whilst there are... Maybe this is an older squad. I was going to say whilst there might be a few older players, there are some young players coming through. Kind of looking at things, it's kind of a fairly average age squad. I mean, with the exception of Kepa and maybe Fabian, I feel like you've probably got a squad that's going to make it to the World Cup without needing to change too much. Also, when did Ferran Torres become the centre-back? That's an error. Get the right Torres in. Did I put the wrong Torres in earlier and not note it? That's him. We won't let the players know that happened. It's fine. Anyway, I feel like that's a nice little overview of the Spain job. I feel like we have an idea of where we're at and where we're potentially heading. I'd love to know in the comments, would you just play the same system I play at Racing? Maybe tweak it to facilitate a few players here and there. But I do feel like in the sense of role-playing in Football Manager, it's quite nice when you're employed for a job based on a style of football you play, based on the success you've had, to try and bring that success from club level to the national team. And I do definitely feel like we've got the players to make that happen. But anyway, we've got a national team job. It feels weird. It feels scary. Our first game isn't till September. So for the rest of today's episode, we're going to go back to Racing by clicking the lovely button in the top left. And we're going to try and get Lucas Toussaint signed and maybe wrap up one or two other little bits of loose ends, I suppose, when it comes to the transfer special. Although, after yesterday, I feel like we did leave things in a pretty good spot. I think I hate everything. Jugor has gone to Real Madrid. If you thought that after we won the league that Real Madrid and Barcelona were going to roll over, we're going to give up and just accept they're not the big boys anymore, that's not what's happened, really. They've signed probably the world's best centre mid. Hey, some good news, everyone. Lucas Toussaint is going to join us. This might seem a bit like a weird transfer, but we need a backup to Capanu, and Toussaint is a really, really good kind of proper, for lack of a better word, ball-winning midfielder. He is someone who is kind of just born to win the ball back. He's not going to do a great deal more for us, but that's kind of all I want. I want someone who I can bring in for Capanu and rely on. And whilst last year, Corridor did that job for us, and obviously Tolisso on occasion did it for us, we were kind of lacking a player that can do that role for us reliably longer term. As much as I like Tolisso, he is on the decline. We've got better players, I think, when it comes to centre mids. And, well, in terms of what it means to the actual squad, it means that our best 11 looks something like this. Of course, we are still very much in pre-season. It is only the 19th of July. The season starts in about a month's time. But I really like where our squad's at, with players like Petrozuolo coming in, of course. Elsewhere, we've got the likes of Conceição, who's going to be starting for us. A couple of really nice upgrades to the first team. I think we've also, got in Jimmy Galini, we've got in Toussaint. We've kind of replaced what we lost and then improved in a few other areas, which, to be honest, I can only think is a really, really good thing. Elsewhere, I am in the middle of getting rid of some players. Javi Garcia, I don't really want to give away for free, but I think I'm just going to do it. And the reason I'm going to do it is because I'm in the middle of culling down the size of the B team. It's a little bit bloated, and one of the kind of side effects of that is that the best players aren't getting as much first-team football because the minutes are being shared around, and so as a result of it, I don't know can I show you it? I can show you it. If we go to the transfer centre and the outs for the B team, which are kept completely separate, you can see here I've got a fair few players who are kind of the ages of 20 and above, players who aren't quite going to make it, just going out for a little bit of money. I think the biggest sale is going to be potentially Jose Antonio Herrera. He signed for us for £1 million. He looks like he's going to be on his way out for 2.5 million. He's not a bad player at all. He's probably one of the better players in terms of current ability. But when I look across our team and I look across where the youngsters are, he's kind of taking up someone else's opportunity, I suppose. I feel like with the B team, I kind of just shoved a load of players in it without really thinking about the squad building consequences of that. Whereas now we're just getting rid of a few players everywhere who are lacking. If I quickly just highlight them all, you can kind of see the pattern here in terms of the kind of players we're talking about. Players with limited potential, over the age of 20, not the kind of players I necessarily want to develop, and players who, debatably in some cases, are slightly overpaid. Patrick Moreau is on 17,000. Did I agree to that? I mean, the good news is he's very likely to leave for $500,000. But yeah, there's definitely some questionable contracts in here, including Les Cotter, who of all the players I've been trying to sell, no one seems to want to buy Les, which is just a bit sad, really. Pedro Porro, you might remember yesterday, he was complaining about wanting to leave. He wanted a wage rise. I like Pedro Porro. I've got a soft spot for Pedro Porro. He had a really good season for us. So off the back of that, I am going to give him a new deal. I am just going to take the L on this one. He's just renewed, as you saw there, for £115,000. Hopefully it's going to keep him quiet because he is one of the more influential players in the dressing room who it would be quite useful to keep on side. You know what, gang? I am just sat here hitting continue, kind of sorting out the B team. But in terms of first team business, I don't feel like there's a great deal that's going on right now. Although Mahika's just moved to play in Saudi Arabia for $7 million. And he's getting paid £130,000 a week. Go on, lad. Get your payday. No, what I was about to say before Mahika interrupted me is, I think there's not a lot more that's going to be happening here. We've, of course, made a few sales and made a few purchases with players like Toussaint. £5 million in the bank in terms of transfer budget. We're under the wage budget. There's £133 million in the overall balance. We're not short on money right now. In terms of next episode, we're going to come back for the start of the season against Atleti. Of course, I've now got to plan around international matches as well, which is going to be a fun little side adventure. I hope today gave you a nice little overview of the Spain team, kind of what we're walking into. I must admit, it's a little bit of a weird one. It feels like we've almost split the transfer special into two, with a weird little distraction in the middle. But I am looking forward to getting into the Spain job. I think it'll be a fun change of pace, especially, with this save game where we've been with Racing and things have started to get a little more stable, I feel like, at a club level in terms of where we're at. But no, let me know what you made of the transfer business on the whole over the course of the transfer window. Hopefully we will have shifted on a few more B team players before the end of the season. I realised that for whatever reason, half our transfers show for the previous year. Football Manager, please fix. But no, let me know what you made of the transfer business. Not doing a great deal. I know that Velez and Corridor are going to sting for some people. you'll get over it. We'll be back tomorrow with Atleti. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you've got any questions with regards to the Spain job, I can maybe answer them down in the comments. Maybe there's something obvious that I missed. National team management isn't exactly my normal kind of management. It's going to be fun. It's going to be an adventure. Hope to see you guys for the next one. I'm just rambling on. We'll wrap things up here. I'll see you guys again. Start of season number 9 coming your way soon.